Expectancy theory. A different type of theory is offered by Broom 1982. The expectancy theory. This theory stresses that understanding how employees perceive possible outcomes is vital for knowing how to motivate them. Brooms uses the term balance to describe what the employee anticipate will be the satisfaction gained from the outcome of a particular action. Two categories of outcomes are possible, either performance relate or need relate. The theory suggests that motivational force result from the combination of anticipate outcomes, performance, and need relate, and the expectancy the subordinate has that the predicted outcome will actually be realized. Gold troops research. Another example is a theory developed from research on a particular group of workers, manual employees in a car factory. Gold troop at 1968. This was a classic psychological study of the workplace. The main findings were the motivation could be influenced by factors outside of work, so different workers will be motivated in different ways. This makes the role of manager as a motivator particularly difficult. However, three main types of workers were described and could be identified as: Number 1. Affluent workers. Instrumental in approach to work and so motivated by money. Number 2. Professional workers. Bureaucratic in approach and so motivated by position. Number 3. Traditional workers. Feeling solidarity with each other as a result, they are motivated by a sense of belonging. It seems then that the managers have again to make important decisions in their role as a motivators. They need to decide what type of workers they are trying to motivate, what behavior they are trying to motivate in these workers, the most appropriate method of motivation, and possibly the outcomes that can be used to provide the motivation. How would you motivate the telephonist in the next example? Activity 3.19. Consider the following example and think how you would motivate staff in these circumstances. Try to use one of the theories you have just read about. Your company is a telephone answering service, a call center, and operates from the Indian city of Mumbai. Staff must answer problems about household equipment, vacuum cleaners, gas boilers, kitchen appliances from consumers in Texas. Staff members are taught how to speak to and understand Texans. They know the sport result and weather in Texas so they can chat in a friendly way. However, staff find the work too abstract and unreal. Many move on to other jobs once their language skills are improved. The manager needs to motivate staff to stay and work hard. Feedback. To help you get started, you may find the following answer outline useful. First, decide which theoretical model you want to use. Expectancy theory or Herberg's are quite appealing for this problem. Your analysis of why staff become fed up will lead to your recommendation. This may include a mixture of measures such as promotion and bonuses for long-serving staff. Also, it might be worth developing social contacts that help bring Texas alive. For the Mumbai staff, visit special uniforms, TV, and video links. There might even be a scheme to lend long-serving staff money to buy an apartment. This would certainly tie staff to the company. However, the opposite could be the case and they might feel very secure and become lazy. Look at the theories and see how they suggest one can motivate young. Educate employees that want independence, flexible working condition, and interesting work life. Maybe the company will decentralize management and have team working on specific products or a competition with each other. The important thing is to decide on a theoretical framework and use that to analyze the problem. 3.8. Controlling rule. The final rule to be considered is that of the manager as controller. What do managers control? How do you think this relates to other rules we have discussed? Once more, take a few minutes to think about this question and then read on. Managers are required to control the actions of individuals, but management is also more than this. Our understanding or management involves the coordination of all resources, and so that controlling rule involves how the resources, including but not only people, are used and interact. Others areas of control include the plans developed to achieve the goals and all delegates activities, for example, budgetary control. The stage involved in the controlling process can be perceived as follow. Number 1. Define the necessary standard or goal to be achieved. Number 2. Decide upon and implement a measure of outcomes. Number 3. Make an ongoing comparison of current activities with the standard set. Number 4. Make changes to current behavior if needed to ensure standard or goal attained. See Mullins 2010, page 668 for a more detailed discussion. Activity 3.20. Reading. This final reading gives an overview of why it is important to have control in organization. We also look at the components of an effective control system. The issue of power is considered again, and there is an extensive discussion of delegation and why it is so important for a manager to delegate effectively. Mullins 2010, Chapter 17, Organizational Control and Power, page 665 to 71. The controversial nature of control up to and including forms of control, page 673 to 691. Characteristic of an effective control system up to and including the concept of empowerment. An alternative reading for this topic can be found in Body 2008. Chapter 18. Performance Measurement and Control, page 598 to 616. You can read the remainder of the chapter but do not spend much time on it. As you read, think about the other rules of the managers that we have discussed and try to draw connections between them. Keep in mind managers that you met and what he or she told you about their jobs. Could you identify the controlling activities in their work? It can be seen that the controlling role of manager is interrelated with others, such as planning and leading. Again, decision making is crucial to this role and is an integral part of each stage of controlling process. Therefore, it is important to remember that the rules a manager takes on cannot be seen in isolation but are interconnected and overlap. We also established that many different types of management exist, and so it is necessary to recognize that the roles of a managers has will be depend on what type of managers they are. The rules that have been discussed here are only some possible ones and offer one way of understanding what managers do. In reality, we have learned that the job of manager can be very complex and demanding and can be depend on external constraints. Chapter Review. Key points. Research study of actual managers suggests that what they spend time doing in practice is different from what we expect a manager's job to be in theory. Many different types of manager exist and no one set of attributes can be agreed on. No one set of attributes for a good manager has been agreed upon. What it seems to make a manager is dependent on the context and these can change over time. The work in a manager can be understood by investigating the various overlapping and changing roles that a manager takes on. Theories of what managers should be often conflict with research into what managers actually do. There are a number of theoretical approaches that contribute to our understanding of how managers performs in all the roles they play, such as planning, leading, motivating, and controlling. Goal setting and decision making are central to the effective performance of the manager. A reminder of your learning outcomes. Having completed this chapter and the essential reading and activities, you should be able to identify factors that contribute to differences between types of management, the attributes value in managers, and the expectation placed on the work of the managers. understand the limits of management behavior theories, and appreciate the practical constraints that managers face in reality. Discuss the idea of managerial effectiveness and evaluate approaches to measuring how successful a manager is. Identify the types of decisions relevant to the different areas of the manager's job. Sample examination question. When we consider this, remember the guidance given in the introduction about examination preparation. Each question can be answered fully in approximately 45 minutes. Under examination condition, number 1, jobs of individual manager will differ widely even though they all have to perform similar general activities. Discuss three factors that we influence the nature of manager's job. Use example to illustrate your answer. B. One of the function of management is data planning. Describe the stage a manager will go through when performing this function. Illustrate which reference to a specific situation in the business context. Number 2. Discuss why decision making is central to the role of managers. Illustrate your answer by referring to at least two different types of managers. Number 3. Briefly discuss the purposes of management control in a work organization. B. Describe the essential elements in a management control system. Illustrate your answer with practical example. Number 4. Discuss what measure you would use both qualitative and quantitative to assess the effectiveness of a manager. Give reasons for your choice of measures and illustrate with example. B. Discuss how manager's job might change as he moves up the career ladder. How might the change demands present problems for the managers? Advise on answering a question to help you further with your example preparation. We offer below some suggestions for one of the answers. However, it is very important to remember that there is no model or current answer to many of the question. Is it more important to demonstrate what you have learned by developing your own response to the question, supported by evidence from the relevant parts of the chapter. Number 2. Discuss why decision making is central to the role of the manager. Illustrate your answer by referring to at least two different types of manager. A brief introduction to the role of the manager and how this depends on the type of manager would be a useful starting point. Setting out the major roles a manager can play could be useful, although it would be important to recognize that these roles cannot be strictly separated but can change from one manager to another and also relate to what a manager is trying to achieve. The managerial rules and their dependence on the type of manager we are discussing could be demonstrated by introduction or your example managers at an early point. It would be helpful to use example of very different types of manager for this illustration. The sorts of example that would be relevant would be a frontline managers in a fast food outlet, the CEO of an airline company, or a branch manager for a chain of tailors. For each of your examples, you could suggest the rule that would be important and the types of decision that can be managers would have to make in these rules. It could also be useful to consider how the constraint and the reality of the manager job could affect their decision making. Therefore, recognizing the complexity involved in understanding the role of a manager.